After years of waiting for the Fantastic Four movie, it's finally arrived, and I couldn't be more excited. Ever since Marvel announced this movie back at San Diego Comic Con in 2019, I've been interested to see what they'll come up with for the Fantastic Four. I'm happy that Marvel decided to give the Fantastic Four another try, because honestly they're pivotal to the Marvel universe. A lot of Marvel characters wouldn't exist if not for the Fantastic Four. Characters like Black Panther, Namor, Kang, and many more. But I feel like cinematically the Fantastic Four have been done dirty many times.
Whoa, hey.
I mean, for the longest time, the best Fantastic Four movie was The Incredibles. I feel like the previous Fantastic Four movies missed what's special about the team, that being that they're a family. I feel like the previous movies missed that, and they kinda just made them into a generic superhero team, especially Fantastic Four from 2015. But after a long time of waiting, I'm happy to say that this Fantastic Four movie is the movie that we've been waiting for. This isn't me saying that there's no problems with the movie, however the good outweighs the bad in my opinion. The number one thing that I like about this movie is that you can tell Matt Shakman really understands the characters and how they're meant to bounce off of each other. And I also think he understands that what makes the Fantastic Four special is that they're a family and that they're scientists. I'm also happy to see that Marvel made this movie as comic booky as possible, all the way down to the vibe, the suits, the villains that they use. I'm glad to see that superhero movies are kind of stepping away from making everything realistic and gritty as possible. With movies like Superman and now Fantastic Four, I'm glad to see that these movies have taken that approach. But in the first 10 minutes of this movie, you get the Fantastic Four's backstory and their greatest hits. The team have been protectors of Earth for 4 years, and in that time, the movie gives us a montage of all the villains at the fort, such as Mole Man, Puppet Master, and Red Ghost. They even recreate the first issue that the Fantastic Four appeared in, where they're fighting Giganto. I really liked that moment. I'm glad that Marvel didn't make this into another origin story. I feel like people know who the Fantastic Four are and their origin. However, if you don't know who the Fantastic Four are, I could see how that section could be paced poorly, because it moves at rapid speed. Whoever's idea it was for this movie to be set in a retro 60s era needs to be given a raise. I feel like it helps distinguish itself from the rest of the MCU. The production design sells the idea as well. There wasn't one moment in this film where I was questioning what time period they was in. It's very clear from the beginning. Another thing that helps is the score of this movie. Michael Giacchino does an amazing job with the score. He was a perfect choice, and I see why they chose him. When you look at his IMDb, he worked on Incredibles, so again it makes sense. Not only does the time period help distinguish itself from the MCU, but it lets you know from the beginning that this is a different timeline. This is not the secret timeline that we're used to. I feel like this is what the MCU should have been doing when using the multiverse, having stories that take place out of the MCU so we can get movies like this that can be different. Moving on to the cast, I think that the cast did a fantastic job.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, to be serious for a second, there wasn't a moment I wasn't engrossed by the performance by every actor in this movie. I'll start with Pedro Pascal. I know when he was cast, people were concerned that he wouldn't be able to play Mr. Fantastic well, and people were concerned whether or not he was the right person for this role. But in my opinion, he embodied what Reed Richards is from the comics. An example I give is when the Four realise the danger that the Earth is in when Galactus appears. You can feel the pressure that Reed is under. The moment where Reed talks to Franklin and he expresses how he doesn't want Franklin to end up like him because he thinks of the worst case scenario and he can't help himself. It's who he is. I feel that in previous movies, Reed has always been portrayed as a boring, one-dimensional science guy. This movie puts not just him but the whole team in an interesting situation, which I'll discuss later on. Reed having to grapple with the ultimatum of either giving up his child or saving the world is an impossible choice, and I really think that the movie lets you feel that decision that Reed makes. When it comes to Fantastic Four, this is a new dynamic we haven't seen in live action before. The other movies never got around to introducing Franklin Richards. I thought that the movie portrayed his powers really well. There's only one shot that looked a bit funny to me, but other than that, it was perfect. I think that this is a big improvement on how Reed Richards uses his powers in the movies compared to the other films. I mean, there's a moment in this film where Galactus is pulling Reed from end to end, and it made my stomach turn, I'm not gonna lie. Overall, I would say that when I came out of this movie, I saw Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. Moving on to Vanessa Kirby. Now, she's the one that surprised me the most. This version of Sue is infinitely better than every movie depiction we've gotten. You do get a sense that Sue is the glue that keeps the family together at rough times. I would say that her relationship with Reed in previous movies never really interested me, but their relationship in this movie is the emotional core that kept me hooked, and you see their relationship get tested when this ultimatum is put forward to them. Like I said before, Sue and Reed are put into an impossible decision to give their child to a giant space god or let the planet get eaten, and this movie lets you feel the pressure Sue is under also. Moment I liked is when Sue confronts the protesters and she gives this speech about family and how ultimately she won't sacrifice her son, but she won't sacrifice this world either. It's cool seeing a version of Invisible Woman in live action that is as strong as her comic counterpart. The moment that shocked me was when Galactus had Franklin and Sue is pushing Galactus by herself into the gateway. Going into this movie, I always knew that Invisible Woman was the strongest out of the four, and I'm happy that this movie portrayed it. Moving on to Joseph Quinn, I'll say this first. I think that they got the dynamic between Ben and Johnny right. I enjoyed the dynamic that both of them had, arguing like brothers. I also enjoyed his characterization in this movie. He is still a hothead like in the comics, but not to the point where he comes across like an idiot. I think the opposite happens. He has this side plot where he's trying to decode the Silver Surfer's language, and eventually it pays off when Johnny's confronting the Surfer. I like that he plays to her compassion, trying to convince her to help the four of them stop Galactus. It would have been so easy for them to write the Human Torch in a one-dimensional way. They keep the things that make the character enjoyable, but they add a layer of depth to the character. Now I want to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man and this version of Human Torch interact like in the comics. And for the final member, my favourite member of the Fantastic Four, we have Eben Moss Bachrach playing the Thing. I think out of all of the four, he has the least to do in this film, but I will say it's cool seeing a different dynamic for the Thing, because this is a world where the Fantastic Four have been protecting the Earth for 4 years. People don't see Ben as a monster. It's quite the opposite actually. Kids love him, no one runs away when they see him, but that isn't to say that they forget about the characteristics that make the Thing special. Conversation Ben and Reed had about going into space again, you can really see that Reed still feels guilty about what happened to Ben after all those years. Not just to Ben, but all four of them. But we see that Ben is at peace with who he is now. In terms of CGI, there was one moment that took me out of the film, and it's when Ben is talking to the teacher at the beginning of the movie. But other than that, I thought that the Thing looked perfect. Eben Moss Bachrach did an amazing job doing the motion capture. When the Thing was emoting, there wasn't a moment where it took me out of the movie. I think that this is one of Marvel's best CGI creations that they've made. I like the fact that they actually cast a Jewish actor this time to play the Thing. I just think that it's an important part of his identity, and he's one of the most popular Jewish characters in Marvel. But those are my thoughts on the members, and I'm really happy that this is the Fantastic Four we get to see in Doomsday and future MCU movies. But we have to talk about Julian Garner as the Silver Surfer. I thought her portrayal of the character was cold and menacing at the beginning. The warning she gives the Earth when she arrives is such a top tier moment for me. Whenever she showed up, she really brought this ethereal presence to the scene. But as the movie goes on, Johnny peels back the layers to Shallow Bowl, and we find out that she sacrificed herself being with her daughter to protect her planet. She doesn't want to be the herald for Galactus, but she has no choice. But the way she was moving though in this movie, it was so cold. There's a moment where the Fantastic Four are escaping Galactus' ship and they use a wormhole to escape, and they can't shake her no matter what they do. They end up using a black hole to stop her. If I had one critique about her character, is that her sacrifice at the end felt a bit rushed to me. I thought that if she got one more scene reflecting on her actions and we see how regretful she is, I think it would have made more sense why she sacrifices herself. But other than that, I enjoyed the Silver Surfer in this movie. And finally, we have the big man Ralph Ennis playing Galactus. This is everything I've been waiting for, a comic accurate version of Galactus. We no longer have to look at that fart cloud as Galactus anymore. This movie portrays Galactus as a larger than life character, as he should be. I love this movie's angle on Galactus as something inevitable, something you can't stop, you can only prepare for him. As Galactus' ship was coming closer to Earth, it really reminded me of the subgenre of cosmic horror. We only get hints to his backstory, but other than that, he's a complete mystery to the audience. His motivation to get Franklin so that his hunger can be satisfied is not only terrifying, but it leads into the idea that Galactus is a being of cosmic force. The panic the world feels when the Fantastic Four return back to Earth, and Reed Richards, the smartest man alive, has no clue how to defeat Galactus. We see the effect it has on the world. I like that the Fantastic Four doesn't defeat Galactus in a traditional sense, but they have to outsmart him. The final battle with Galactus is epic and intense, and it lives up to the hype I was expecting to see. I don't know when next we'll see Galactus, but I hope it's sooner rather than later. I can't express how much I liked his costume design in this movie. I'm glad that they didn't chicken out on giving him his purple colours as well. I know that they're a bit darkened, but I'm happy with that. Now that I talked about the cast, I want to talk about the things I didn't like. The first one being Mole Man. Felt like he was in a different movie to everyone else. Maybe it's because we didn't get enough time with the character to form a bond, but whenever he was on screen, I felt something was off about his character. I appreciate that they give him his goggles though. The next one is that I feel like if you're not really familiar with the Fantastic Four, the beginning section moves at a rapid pace, and I could see how someone could get lost. And the final thing that I didn't really like about this movie is the post-credit scene where we see the back of Dr. Doom's hood. I've already expressed my opinion on RDJ playing Doom, but throughout the movie we kept on seeing the Latvian flag with no one representing the country, so I thought that Dr. Doom does exist in this universe and I have run into Doom before. I guess I'm just concerned that when Doomsday comes out, they'll rush the backstory between Reed and Doom. Overall, this movie is everything that comic book fans have been waiting for to see when it comes to the Fantastic Four. Now I'm really excited to see this team in Doomsday and Secret Wars, and how they will interact with the Avengers. But those are just my thoughts. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.